Good afternoon, everybody. Just going to give it a minute or so to see if there are any latecomers coming to join us. I've popped an announcement in the chat, but if you've got any questions, feel free to type away in the Q&A. We've got some people in the background, keyboards in hand, ready to answer any queries you may throw at them within reason. Fabulous. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining me on this fine Friday afternoon. I'm aware that given the current climate, people are probably even more keen to get their weekend started, so I appreciate you joining me all the more. My name is Matt Fernandes. I'm Chief Technologist with Identity Experts, and today I'm going to go through how to get started with Microsoft Teams. With, again, everything that's happening, there's a flurry of remote working. And what I wanted to do was go through with everybody how easy and simple it is actually to get set up on Teams as a platform to be able to allow everybody to collaborate and work in a easy, intuitive and secure manner, be them on a work device, a personal device, a phone, you name it, we can cover it, again, within reason. So, a little bit about the scenario. So I am going to be covering what we're going to be going through if you've got no Teams at all, how we get started. Microsoft have got a little initiative that's giving 6 months of Teams freemium features away for free to help everyone during this time. The demos I'm going to be using are of a small fictional business who are struggling right now because they are an apiary and they have bees and honey that they need to harvest, and suddenly everyone has to work from home and no one has communication with the other people who are working in the different areas to find out exactly what's going on within the business. So we're going to solve that for them. So first things first, don't know how much familiarity people have with Teams already and how it's structured. So I'm going to go over a little bit of terminology. So first of all, Teams is the product, and within Teams, we have teams, which isn't confusing at all. So a team is basically a group that contains people, channels, bots, tabs, all these other bits that we're going to have a look at all reside within a team. So the team itself is the boundary for information and people and things. Channels live, again, within the team. You can have multiple channels, and each of these are designed for a more specific purpose. As an example, if you've got a team containing every member of staff in the business, but your sales guys want a place to chat, share files, have a natter, then that channel is what they need. Channels can also be made private, so it's easy to separate out restricted data or chats. Oh, my animations are the wrong way around. Okay, GIFs. We all know sometimes that plain text can be a little bit tough to read, and I don't mean the actual kind of lettering, but the context. Sarcasm is a great example, especially when the people you're having a conversation with have quite a dry sense of humour. It can be difficult to be for sure whether or not they're actually joking or not if something's serious. So Teams has a built-in search powered by a service called Giphy that allows you to find short animated clips that can be used to better communicate your feelings. It's often said that pictures say 1,000 words and GIFs go a step beyond this. But if it's not your cup of tea, they can be restricted for content. They can be disabled either in chats, channels, or kind of for the entire organization if you want to stamp out the party. What's next? This will be a surprise now. It's tabs. So if there's something within a team that people are going to need to interact with regularly, maybe a website that you want bookmarking, an Excel spreadsheet that multiple people need to be in to track and edit things, then tabs is what you need. They live next to the channel's chat, so they're always on hand and easy to find for people. Chats, well, it's what it says on the tin. This is personal chats between users. This is separate from the teams entirely. This is more like an instant messaging service. It's for quick messages between people that the whole team doesn't need to see or know about. It's not limited to just 2 people. You can create group chats. You can even make calls and have video chats amongst your group, and you can share files. But it's a little less structured than the standard Teams channel model. It's a little bit more fluid so that you can spin things up on the fly. And last but not least, in this out of order slide, bots. I've included bots because it's one of the features that I really, really like about Teams. One of the best things about Teams is the degree to which you can connect to it and interact with it. Other web apps, RSS feeds, cloud storage providers, and there's programmatic capabilities as well, where we can hook into automation services. It is a case with a lot of this that your imagination is the limit, again, with that little asterisk saying caveats apply. And the reason why I was highlighting, I've got 2 use cases that we internally have found really, really useful for this. The first one is a social media feed where you can have a bot within Teams that is monitoring Twitter. It's searching for things, and as certain hashtags or different search terms are popping up, it will automatically feed that information into a Teams chat channel for you. This is great if maybe your marketing team is watching certain hashtags, or if you're looking to keep up to date on breaking news. And this is, again, a nice, easy way of having a feed of information that people can go to one place and consume in an easy fashion. And the other is a bit more fancy. This is Q&A bots. And these allow you to have a database of information that people can have a conversation with. You can open up a chat and you can ask the bot, what's our company policy on remote working? Or how do I book time off? And the bot can take that, find the information and reply in a nice, succinct way. Oh, here's the link to your remote working policy. Here's the link to your holiday request form. Or it could just spit out some information and say, oh, you want to book a holiday? Well, fill in this form and I can do that for you. Loads of cool stuff. This is a brilliant way to communicate information and also to allow that kind of self-service model for people to search for things and find things out for themselves. Right. These are the things we're going to have a look at. So I'm going to walk through, if you've got no Microsoft tenant, no Azure tenant whatsoever, how you actually get Teams, making use of the offer from Microsoft currently. We're going to create a team. We're going to have a look at some notifications, what the customization options there, because notification fatigue is a real thing. We'll go over some of the chat features, how we're going to share files, how we're going to make it so that people can collaborate, how we're going to do our meetings, our calls, and how we're going to make Teams kind of our hub, our go-to place, so that as soon as someone says, oh, where do I go or how do I do, the first thing in their head is, I'll check Teams. That's it. That's the end of my slides. So let's dive in. Right, so I would like my other tab open. So Microsoft have put a post up, and we'll pop the link in for you about this, some of their commitments around the COVID-19 scenario. And this is all the information on individuals, IT professionals, what they're offering, how they're going about trying to make it so that people can still collaborate and carry on with their day-to-day lives, even though the sun is shining outside and we all want the weekend. But moving on from this, so I have a Gmail account, and I've skipped ahead just slightly in that I've created an Azure portal for it. But all I did was go to portal.azure.com, which took me to a login page, and I hit sign up instead. And I put my Gmail test account in, and now I have an Azure portal. I've got not a lot in here. I don't have any licenses or any of the fancy bits. I mean, there's a huge amount of stuff in there. All I've done is create the portal. So one of the links in the commitment to COVID-19 brings you to this space, which is where we'd actually sign up for Teams. So I'm doing this with a Gmail account. The links are slightly different if you've got a like a vanity domain, a work or school account, or if you're using like a consumer, like an outlook.com or a Gmail. So I'd advise you to have a read over the article and find the link that best works for you. But all I need to do is hit this link, and no doubt it'll ask me to sign in again. And we'll do gmail.com. How do we want to use Teams? Well, okay, so this is going to be for work. Okay, I'm normally a G Suite user, but we need a way of being able to collaborate easily. So I'm going to do this. See if I can remember what my password is. And now it's going to ask me a few things. So let's put my details in. Name is Spicy Fly Apiary. And we are in the UK. All right, go set up Teams. Tick-tock, tick-tock. And this should be it. This should now sign me into Teams. It will activate me a license for a set period of time, and I will have access to the functionality included with that license, which I believe out of the box is basically everything you would need: your file storage, your video, your calling, everything except like actual physical landline calls. So I'm going to leave this doing this. Eventually it will pop open a browser, but again, I'm going to cheat slightly and do a Blue Peter. Here's one I prepared earlier. So within this tenant now, we have Teams and we have the Azure portal. And that, by the way, that was it. If you followed along with those steps, you now have a Teams instance that you can play around with. So if you think you might already have licenses, or you have an Azure instance already, what you need to check is whether or not you actually already are licensed for this, because quite a lot of people actually are. So within the Azure portal, if we head over to Azure Active Directory, we can check our licenses. And we'll go to all products. And here we have the license bundles that we have bought. If you have these, the Office 365 licenses, chances are you've got Teams. So we'll go to E3, which is the lower tier, and have a look in the service plan details. And you'll notice down here, we have Microsoft Teams available. The key point to this now is to then deploy that to your users. And this is where our paths kind of diverge for the two instances. By signing up for Teams using another account, you grant yourself the license. Now we need to actually give that to people. And again, nice and easy. Look, we've got licensed users, we've got licensed groups. We'll go with licensed users. We will click assign. We will choose Adam. Adam looks like a cool guy. Oh, Alan even. He looks like a cooler guy. And in our assignment options, we can tick on and off the exact bits that we want. So chances are your business will have different bits turned on and off already here. We have a slider for Microsoft Teams. Make sure that's turned on, hit OK, hit assign, and you're cooking with gas. So what does that look like when the user logs in? Well, it's funny you should ask. This is what it looks like. Now, this tenant I'm using has some dummy data in it that I've had to strip back and remove and stuff to try and make it back to actually how it would be. And this is one that I've pre-created. But all of this would be blank, all of this would be blank, and you'd be left with a nice clean canvas ready to go. So we want to create our first team. And by the way, I'm doing all of this through the web portal. I'm using Teams Online. I'm using Office 365 web apps. There are offline installers or desktop installers for Office, for Teams. There's mobile apps. But if you have a policy in place for conditional access or something like this, where you don't want users to be having information stored on their personal devices, you want to restrict it to web only, it is possible to do everything that you need to just through a web browser. So let's have a crack on. Let's create a new team. Oh, look, there's a button. We create a team or join a team. Let's create a new one. Now we've got a choice. Because teams are basically groups of users, we can either build one from scratch, in which case it will build a group in the back end, or we can select an existing group. We can select an Office 365 group, and we can add Teams functionality to those existing groups. So all I'm going to do for now, I'm going to build a team from scratch. Now, here's our permissions. Would we like every single person in the organization to be added to that team? That's the case for my Spicy Fly apiary team over here. The other choice is public, where the team will show in this list. So when you hit join or create team, people can browse and choose to join the teams that they need to. Or you can have it private, where it's not in the category and you have to be manually added to the team, either by invite from the team owner or by an administrator. So let's do a private team for the moment, and let's call it the bosses. So what's this doing in the background? This is creating the group. We're going to add some members. In fact, let's have Alan, because I spelled his name wrong. We'll have him, and we'll have, let's see if there's someone beginning with L. Yeah, we'll have Linda. Great. So now these two are added to the bosses group. So now they have a separate channel, a separate, completely separate area with chat, files backed by SharePoint, and the ability to add anything that they want to. From within here, we can manage the team and we can see what members we've got. You'll notice that as Megan, I'm shown as the owner, which means I've automatically been added. This is all just a brief way to show you this is something that can be changed and customized in the back end to ensure that only the people you want in there are in there. And that's it. We've created our first team. Now, straight away, we can go into general and we can start chatting with the people who are in there. And they can respond and they can post some GIFs and do some smiley faces, and that's wonderful. But what happens when every single department or every single project needs a team? You end up with about 500 teams all down this side, and you get a bit lost. So actually, rather than having the bosses set up as an entire separate team, it would actually make more sense to have it as a subsection of the Spicy Fly, because we know that everybody who's going to be in this team is already in this one. So what I want to do, I'm going to hit the hamburger menu. I'm going to add a channel. We're going to call this one of the bosses, or the boosters. And then down here, we've got this toggle. We can either have standard access, which means it's available to everybody who's been added to the main team, or we can have it as private, which means only a subsection of those people are allowed to view it. So if we add that, oh, it's because I've now we can add people to this. Let's have Alan. Oh, except they're not there. Let's see who's a member of here. So anybody who is a member of here, this is possibly still populating in the back end, can be added into the bosses. So we'll add in somebody. Is there an L? Let me search for someone. Okay, the demo gods are failing me. Capture. Okay. Okay, we get the idea. So here we have a little padlock. So up here now we have the same options as we would under general, except we're within the same team. So we could get rid of the bosses, and then we'd just have the one team, and we'd have different channels underneath it that are strategically positioned for the different tasks that they're required for. So I mentioned before that notification fatigue is a thing. So for these, because I'm a member of this team, I have the option to get notifications. Notifications are managed on the channel level. So for each channel, I can have a look out at notifications. I can choose whether or not I want to be bothered by a big banner, whether or not I want it to show in the activity feed, or whether I want it to be off. I can also choose replies, and when people mention me with an @ as if they want to get my attention. So you could have a lower level of notifications normally, so we'll only show this in feed, but actually when someone specifically mentions me, I want to have a banner notification to really draw my attention to that. Further than this, you can have notification options actually within the team settings. In fact, this may show up only in the desktop app, but you can choose which notifications appear on which device and when. So if I'm at my desk and I'm typing away on Teams, I don't want my phone constantly going with notifications to say you've got new messages, because I'm actually checking them on this device already. So we can control all of that with an activity. And so if I've been active on another device, my other ones stay quiet, which is nice. It's calming. It stops you from getting frustrated with your notifications. So now that we have our channels, we have our team, we have some people in here, we can chat. That's great. But we can do more than chat. So Megan has a spreadsheet that she has been using, it's over here, it's very beautiful, to track her 4 beehives, the dates, which we've been a little bit lax on our record keeping, because it's not actually Megan that does the extraction, so she doesn't actually know the dates. All she knows is the figures of how much has been brought out, how many jars have been produced, and the batch number for those sets of jars. So what she needs to do, she needs to have this in a place where other people can get into the spreadsheet and collaborate with her. But she also needs it so that it's really visible for everyone. So at any point, anybody can check on what's going on. And so we're going to add it to the team. So all we need to do, again, this is all through Office Online. We are going to save a copy of this spreadsheet. So we're going to save it. We're going to save an online copy, and we're going to save to another folder. And in here, we're going to find our Spicy Fly library, which I really hope shows up. There we go. Here's our documents. And we're going to save it in here. And now we can see, look, the address has changed up here. It's now being saved in a SharePoint site. And keep your fingers crossed for me. Under General here now. Under Files. Oh, it's not there yet. Okay. Next. Go away. What I would like to do, I think, because I've created so many tasks on this, we have a separate SharePoint with the same group name. So let's have another go at saving and see if I can find it again. Stop it. Save as, save as, save to another folder. Because in theory, I should have two channels that I can save to. Okay, no, let's speed this up. Let's save this and download a copy. Speed things up by uploading my file. There we go. Pretend that last 5 minutes didn't happen. I'm sure we'll capture it in editing. Okay, so now under our general channel, here are our tabs. Here are our files. It will open it inline inside Microsoft Teams. So I don't need to go out and open Excel in order for me to actually be able to edit this and make changes. So actually someone's told me that happened 12th of March. Great, now that's updated. And if other people are accessing at the same time, we'll just get other faces in the top corner and we can all edit it together. If we're not sure about something, we can create a conversation just around this file. And I can say, hey, do you know what? Actually, Isaiah, so I can tag him. You have a look at this and fill in the dates. So because this is in blue now, this is actually going to send Isaiah a notification to say, oh, Megan's mentioned you in this document. Can you have a quick look at this? So if we close this down now, under our posts, we have a post in the main chat channel calling out Isaiah, and we can reply, we can respond, we can do whatever we need to, and other people can communicate if they need to. With the private channel, it means that the people within that channel can have their own discussions about their own sensitive data. Maybe that's where the finances are stored, that kind of thing, and it's only the people with permissions to that channel that will be able to see it. So this is great. This means now that our entire team can open these files, they can collaborate, they can work and they can chat with each other. They could be on a voice chat while they're working on the document, and both of them would see the updates in real time. It's quite smart. It's quite good. I like it. So if Megan would like to have a chat with Isaiah, just to run through this, she can click his name, or she can hover over his name, I should say. She sees his status. She sees some information pulled out about him from the directory, phone number, title, that kind of thing. And then we've got some shortcuts as well, where we could send them a message, send them an email, see where they fit on the organization tree. And then we've got start video and voice chat. And we can, well, if I click this as an example, just hit that. It's going to try and use my microphone, and it might throw a hissy fit because I'm also on a Teams chat recording with you lot. It will start a call. Let's try that again. Do a call. There we go. And I'm going to dismiss that because I don't actually want to record something on a mythical voicemail. And that leads us nicely to the chat area, where I can talk to Isaiah just by himself, or I could pull in some colleagues if we need to talk about something else quickly. Files that I've got in my OneDrive, I can share to this chat, and they will be stored there between us. And what's great from a compliance angle and an auditing angle is that you can have different retention policies targeting the teams and channels and the chats. So if you want to purge your chats more regularly, because actually you shouldn't be storing data, important data, in your chats, you can have that on a different cadence to other areas that need to be retained for a certain amount of time. It's a great way of being able to keep on top of areas that would potentially house information that your business doesn't want to hang on to. But what if actually I don't want to just call Isaiah now? If I want to schedule something for the future, okay, I've got emails, I can do new appointments and that kind of thing, but I can actually also do that straight from Teams. In the calendar down the side, I've got a view of my work week, everything that's going on. We can change our view if we want to. We can scroll through years, weeks, months. And here we can schedule meetings or live events. And the live events is actually what we're using to present this webinar to you now. So if we do a meeting, it's great. We just add a title. We type in who we want, either required or optional. We specify a date. Have Isaiah and Alex. It's giving us some suggestions based on their calendars. Let's say we need a 3-hour meeting. Our suggested times will change, whether or not we want to repeat. And this is neat. We can add a channel that we want to meet in, and that basically means that everyone within that channel can join the meeting if they want to. And the location, obviously, we're going to be using Teams, but if it was a physical place, you could be choosing your physical rooms. When you send this, it drops into their calendar. They get a link so that they can join the meeting if they want to. Let's have a look and see if there's one. Trust America not to have any Teams meetings. This one's in conference room Crystal. You'll have a little link in here and you can just connect straight into the meeting. Or if it is a Teams meeting, there will be a little join icon directly on the invite. And so if someone started it, you can see that the meeting's in progress and you can just jump straight in and start chatting to people. This makes it really easy to schedule meetings, to talk to people, to get people together in one place. And having the video as well means that actually while we're all stuck at home, we could still get a real sense of actually working with people, because it feels really differently when you're brainstorming and collaborating actually in a room compared to remotely. And this is a really good way of bridging that gap so it feels much more personable. So kind of the final point on my list of things I wanted to go through was to make Teams their go-to resource. And all of these things kind of do help to do that. But there's a couple of other bits that really help cement this. And this is linking into other services, the other applications that Teams supports. So if I have a look on apps here, there's a list of all the different applications and services that will integrate with Teams automatically. Again, some of this is license dependent. Your mileage may vary. Obviously, you don't just connect to Salesforce. You're going to need Salesforce licensing. But this is ways of being able to get maybe chatter feeds or alerts from Adobe Sign when someone signs something off, or maybe having a to-do list pinned in a tab so that everyone can keep track of what's going on. Maybe you've got an Asana project that you use, and you need people to be able to look at that in one place without them having to log on to lots of different portals. The example I'm going to show is a dead simple one. It's using Power Apps, because what Megan would like to do is share her contact list with a group of people. Now this is going to integrate directly with her Outlook addresser. So we have created the app that links to her Outlook and is a nice simple app. And I want to add that into Teams. Now it's not in this list, but that's not a problem because we've got the option to upload a custom app. So I'm going to upload for Spicyfly. I'm going to select my contacts app. That's going to upload. And now we have a new section for apps, which is apps created specifically for our organization. And in here, we get some options. So all of this, you can customize your descriptions, who it's for, all this kind of stuff. You can add and change and upload. And at this point, I can either add it for the organization or I can add it to a specific team. So I want everyone to see this because this is going to be a useful app for everybody. So I'm just going to add that for everyone. And now it's popped up alongside here with activity, chat, teams. So I'm going to actually click on that. We're going to reload the app. And now all I have to do is search for who I want. And I can see the people. And I can pull out the information I need. But actually, if their phone number's updated, or actually their office, they're now in Seattle, I can update that. And begging pardon, it's a sample app, so the connectors aren't all there. But that would then update the contact in my Outlook contacts. Now, I understand this is a very, very simple, basic example. But if you had a ServiceNow integration or a Salesforce integration, if you had some project management, if you needed to request an item from inventory, if you needed to request time, this is an excellent way of having a really simple interface for people to use, so they don't have to navigate something crazy complicated. They can come in, they can use something simple, all within Teams, which is a space they're familiar with. And for your kind of knowledge workers, for the people who only, are maybe using emails and Word and maybe a couple of SaaS apps, they could feasibly spend their entire day just in Teams being able to do everything that they need to. And if that is the case, that means it doesn't matter which device they're on at all. They could be on their mobile, they could be on their laptop, they could be on their personal iPad. They can still sign into Office 365 Online. They can still access their collaboration hub, which is Teams, and they can still do everything that they need to stay productive. So that's a little bit of a demo, kind of to wet your whistle, get you interested. There's lots of reading to do around this. There's a huge amount that can be done with this. So I would really advise, if people have a little bit of time, boot it up. It's free. Have a play, have a use, see whether it's fit for you. And if you've got any questions, feel free, just, give us a shout. Speaking of, have we had any questions? And I think they have all been answered. So if there's nothing else, thank you very much for watching. Like I said, give us a shout if there's anything else you need, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for your time.